Hello, and in today's video we are doing an FPL preview for game week number 4. That's right, another deadline is upon us and we look ahead to our team selection for match week number 4. Do get in the comment section below your current transfers for match week 4. The first game, of course, that very interesting match between Southampton and Manchester United. I wonder if anyone will be owning FPL assets from that one. Personally, I'm not going to be, because Manchester United were awful to start the season, relegation form, and then out of nowhere, that win against Liverpool, no one really could have seen that coming unless they started with United assets and kept them. So ultimately, yeah, not much interest there. And from Southampton's point of view, they haven't looked great this season. Good win against Leicester though, so that'll be interesting if Ward-Prowse and Che Adams get back into our thinking. But for now, I don't think there's really any interest. But certainly, it's an interesting Saturday of FPL. Lots of games, all at 3 o'clock, and a lot of the big clubs. So we'll get into that with our preview. But before we do continue, don't forget, each video I preview my team, I'll update you on the FPL Yellow Army's Loyal Legion. That's right, the FPL Yellow Army YouTube mini league, to see how it's going after each game week. And it's interesting to see here that going into game week 4, these are the current standings, with James at the top, Craig in second, and Henrik in joint second, with Chris in fourth. So very, very tight at the top. But we will get into, first of all, looking at my team, and then we will look a little bit more at the rest of the divisions, as I showed in my previous match week 3 review. If you already missed that, then go check it out on my channel. Looking ahead, this is going to be game week 4, but it's always good to look back and talk about how game week 3 went on. It was a tough game week for a lot of people, for sure. So here we go. Let's talk about my team. We begin with Robert Sanchez. The Spaniard has a home fixture this week against Leeds United. He's a nice differential goalkeeper at 13.7% ownership. 4.5. He's been my goalie this season, and I had him from the start. He's done very, very well for me. 18 points from 3 games is very, very strong. And ultimately, last week was a really good haul with an 8-pointer. And he's in good form. And Brighton are just generally a great defence to invest in. Leeds United come into this with good form. They've got, a very good start to the season. 7 points from the first 3. They're going to fancy their chances. But Brighton, as I say, are one of the best defences in the league. And also, Brighton are improving at home. They were looking quite solid against Newcastle. And ultimately, they were really the ones that were forcing the issue. And that's despite how good Newcastle were at home to Nottingham Forest in the opening day. So just shows Brighton are very strong at the minute. And Sanchez is looking very strong as well. The only player, of course, that I'm worried about for that clean sheet for Robert Sanchez is Rodrigo, because he is one of those informed players that people are jumping on the bandwagon. However, I back Sanchez's chances of keeping a shutout, and I think people are going for Rodrigo because they're thinking that he's going to be last season's Said Benrahma or, last season's Rafinha for Leeds. I honestly don't know how long this guy can keep it up. As good as he's been, Rodrigo, he's getting involved, he's having shots, but I'm just praying that Brighton will come through with a clean sheet. And ultimately, I think the great thing about Sanchez, even if there isn't a clean sheet, which there might be not, he gets the save points, and those are so crucial. So it's just a really good own at the minute, and a lot of people bring him in this guy if they brought in double Leicester goalkeepers, which is a bit of a mistake they had to rectify this game week. So very happy to own him, and I'm not going to change him for sure. He just does the job, and he looks very, very nice in my team. Moving on then to the next player in my game week 4 selection, and it is, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, I say the man, the myth, the legend. This season, he has not been brilliant. I can't lie. But, hopefully he will be better in this game week. He's got a nice, juicy fixture, home to Bournemouth. Now, Liverpool, as a general team, have not been on good form. We know that. Pretty bad start to the season. Trent struggled against Manchester United, up against the pace of Anthony Elanga, and got booked ultimately. Didn't have as much of an attacking output as you would like. But Trent is still one of the best defenders in terms of stats, underlying stats, for getting crosses into the box. And ultimately, he is still a very threatening threat because, did I actually just say that? What I was going to say was Bournemouth are conceding most of their chances on that left-hand side. Well, where is Trent going to be playing against Bournemouth? Well, it's going to be on Bournemouth's left. So it makes sense that hopefully some nice points come in here for Trent. At the end of the day, though, everyone's got him, or pretty much everyone. So, if he blanks, it's not the end of the world. We're all in the same boat. But he is just one of those defenders that you've got to keep patient with, because across the season he will prove his worth, and I just can't see myself making a draft without him. A lot of people already pressing the panic button and hitting that wild card. I think that's too premature. Obviously, it's team dependent if you've got loads of players sent off or whatever, but I honestly feel he is one that you shouldn't be taking out of your wild card drafts, because he just comes up with form when you least expect it. I mean, you can predict it, but a Bournemouth game is certainly one that hopefully we can get some big points for TAA. At 7.5 for me, he is still not any waste of money at all. He's still, he is what he is, and he is very, very good. Looking ahead to the rest of our defence then, we've got Joao Cancelo, the Portuguese from Manchester City. Has had a good start to the season, FPL-wise. Obviously, last game week wasn't ideal, but nice 11-pointer in game week 2. And also, I think it was in game week 1, wasn't it? 7 points, yeah. So, look, ultimately, it's been a good start. But ultimately, as well, Newcastle were much, much better than Man City probably expected last week. So, City have got to recover, and they have a Palace fixture that is often their bogey club. But I don't really read too much into that. You look at, Crystal Palace this season. Yeah, okay, Zaha's in good form, but you'd still back City to do fairly well at home. They are one of the strongest defenders in the league. And they'll probably have to react to that game against Newcastle in big fashion. So Joao Cancelo's got so much attacking threat. He already loves, getting forward in that number 7 shirt. And ultimately, I can't even begin to fathom how he is cheaper than, say, a Jadon Sancho when you think about value for money. So yeah, he's one that definitely will be staying in my team. The Portuguese is just brilliant as an FPL asset. And hopefully a clean sheet against Crystal Palace. We will see how City get on in that one. Then we've got Andrew Robertson. Yes, believe it or not, people, we're sticking with him this game week. And I don't often do this and be this stubborn with my premium defenders, because, to be honest, last season, everyone was talking about it. Big at the back was the way to go. And that's how Jamie Piggott, the FPL champion of 21-22, pretty much started his season and why it went so well. But everyone thought, yeah, big at the back is the way to go at the start of this season. And that has been put to bed. Honestly, it's been so poor. So far, it's been so poor. And Andy Robertson's been part of that disappointment, because he looked a great option when he was at the start of the season, about 9% owned. And I thought, yeah, this is going to be the guy to own. He's the better Liverpool third asset out of him and not Ruben Diaz, Luis Diaz. But ultimately, I think it's fine. He'll come good. Liverpool defensively have looked awful, but we've got to give him one more week, because ultimately, I know there's a chance Tsimikas plays, but I don't think it's that high. I think, come on, he's going to start with Robertson when he's fit. I know Tsimikas has come off the bench, but that's only because Liverpool have not been playing well as a team. But if they start well at home to Bournemouth, this could be filling in your boots time for Andy Robertson, and hopefully he's a nice differential that will come good this week, and hopefully the Liverpool defensive double-up will come good this week with 2 6-pointers for the clean sheets. I mean, Bournemouth have not looked too threatening other than that game week 1 fixture against Aston Villa, so this could be a good chance, but I don't want to say it too early because I'll jinx myself. However, I'm looking for big points from you, Andrew. If not, there you go, off my team. You're off the chopping list, and you're getting out of my team. But it's a big week for him, for sure. Then we've got Rhys James, another premium defender, attacking fullback, who likes to get forward. But it's just frustrating at the minute with Chelsea how Thomas Tuchel is playing Rhys James at that right centre-back spot. This week, of course, he's got a nice fixture on paper against Leicester, who defensively have been a shambles. So you'd hope Rhys James can get forward, cause some attacking threat, but will he play in that position we want him to? However, I see a lot of people, just like with Trent Alexander-Arnold, selling Rhys James. And I get why, because of this position and also with how poor Chelsea were against Leeds. But come on, that's one fixture. And Mendy started it all with that terrible mistake. So I do feel Chelsea will bounce back. I do feel Rhys James is still too explosive to not own. And I'm glad I brought him in last week, even though it was only a 1-pointer, because I want to own him going forward. But look, at the end of the day, this guy is so good when he gets involved in the goals. So hopefully he can do that. And he did get a goal and an assist in games last season, or maybe assists in both games for sure. I remember actually Rhys James being, unfortunately, the sacrifice I had to pay, because I had Rhys James transferred in for a game against Leicester last season away from home, and then I had so many good players in my team that I had to bench Rudiger, because I thought, oh, Leicester will probably score, and then of course Rudiger got a goal and absolutely, just completely ruined me. So hopefully Rhys James can do just as well as Rudiger with a nice 14-pointer. Then moving on to our midfield then, we've gone with Mohamed Salah as the captain. I mean, who else? Mo Salah, Egyptian king, hauled for us last game week when there was very little from the premiums in general. So there's no doubt in my mind he's always scored when he's played Bournemouth in the Premier League. That, my friends, is too tempting to ignore. I say when he's played Bournemouth. I don't think there's any chance he would have played Bournemouth. No, he didn't, because Bournemouth got promoted in 15-16. I was just thinking about when he was playing for Chelsea, but that would have been, he's playing for Roma around 15-16, so that's fine. So literally, I'm not joking, every Premier League game against Bournemouth, this guy has hit the back of the net. So don't overthink it. It's Mo Salah. He's the best captaincy option for most game weeks, but especially this game week, home against a promoted side, and he loves facing Bournemouth. It's got to be him. It's got to be him. He gets the extra point for a goal, and he's just not even too pricey at 13 million, in my opinion. He's going to be worth that across the season, and hopefully Liverpool just generally can improve their form after the last couple of games. Then we've got Dejan Kulasevsky. I'm going to keep patient with him for one more week because I've been quite disappointed with him. Certainly in that game against Chelsea, I thought he was going to do a bit more, but I suppose you could regard that as a difficult fixture anyway and kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. But I was really hoping for at least a return against Wolves, and I think he was unlucky. He had a couple of crosses in that hit the woodwork from Son and Kane, so he could have easily got assists there. And as Sam Bonfield said on the FPL pod recently, he's getting involved, he's getting chances, creating chances in the box, so it's just a matter of time, and he's certainly playing well at that Tottenham team, and he's probably playing better at this moment in time than Heung-min Son. With Son coming off in the game against Wolves as well, Richarlison seems to be getting more involved, so I'm glad to see that there's not as much of a rotation for Kulusevski for Richarlison as I expected before the season started. Of course, that's bound to happen with Champions League coming up soon, but, let's see. It's a nice fixture against Nottingham Forest. He was my great differential game week 1, and he hauled big time against Southampton. Let's see if he can do the same against Nottingham Forest, who, look, they're going to do well, I think, this season, but they're still going to defensively have a few struggles. So let's see how well he can do. But going into it, it's looking nice for that fixture. Martinelli, home to Fulham. I honestly feel that's a great fixture. As good as Fulham have been, Martinelli's in fantastic form. And 3 returns out of 3 is really nice to start the season. I don't see any way in which Emil Smith-Rowe comes in for this, despite the fact that, it's only Fulham. No disrespect. Arsenal will think they can win this game. But I still feel that, Fulham are unbeaten, so they have to start with their strongest team. And I think Martinelli is one of their strongest players. And, nice 6-pointer last week. It wasn't quite as explosive as we thought, but we'll take those returns ticking over nicely, and hopefully he can get some more returns this week. I mean, would I ever consider this guy for captaincy? Probably not. I just don't think we're quite there yet with Martinelli in terms of getting, double-digit hauls, but certainly he is very, very attractive at the minute. Moving on then to our 4th midfielder, and it's Andreas. Yes, Andreas Pereira, the former Manchester United midfielder. Now, I honestly think this guy is worth the penny that you spend for the 4.5, every penny. He even, as many people have said, is basically just a 5.5 million midfielder playing as priced as 4.5. He's so good as an asset because he looked fantastic against Liverpool, and he also looked really good against Brentford. Got the assist for that nice goal from Palhinha, because that's what he's brilliant at. The fact he's got set pieces, he's on corners, he can get a lot of assists and get contributions that way. So 8 points. It was a painful thing to see him on my bench last week because, you just thought with the fixtures, I backed Nico Williams away to Everton, and look, he nearly got the clean sheet. It was so close. It was agonising stuff, and Demarai Gray just had to ruin it for me. But, you know, Nico Williams, I think, could be a very, very good asset this season. So to kind of have Andreas or Nico as an option is quite nice, because they're both really good for their price. And ultimately, I'm not too uncomfortable starting one of them. As ideal as it would be to have a bit more of a premium player, to be able to fit in Rhys James, Robertson, Cancelo, Trent, Kulasevsky, Salah, Haaland, Jesus, all of them is really nice if they can do the bits, which I hope they will, because they've certainly got the ability to. So I honestly feel this is a nice game for Fulham. When I say nice, I mean it's going to be interesting to see, because I have been impressed by Fulham. Arsenal is not going to be easy, but you know, they've not really had much of a test yet, Arsenal. You know, as no disrespect to Bournemouth, but they were really poor. And I think you can say the same thing really for Palace on the opening day. So I think ultimately Leicester was their main test in terms of defensively, and they conceded 2 goals. So they're not going to be exactly squeaky clean, Arsenal, but let's just see what Andreas can do, and whether he can write himself in the record books or in the history books for my team. That would be an amazing thing. Another return for the midfielder. Okay, look at the front two then. Erling Haaland, Palace at home. This is a fixture that Man City have usually struggled in, but they didn't have Haaland, did they, when they played previously against Palace? Now, ultimately, Haaland is a bit of a worry, only because of Pep's comments about how he's not going to play Haaland regularly when there's 3 fixtures in a week. Now, of course, Man City do have the Champions League coming up. They played in midweek, unfortunately, against Barcelona, some random friendly. Who knows why that went ahead? I don't know the details. That's obviously not ideal, because then you've got Manchester City playing on Tuesday against Aston Villa. So it's kind of like Wednesday, actually, sorry, against Nottingham Forest. I say Aston Villa. That's the next week. The point I've got is, though, it's 3 kind of games in this kind of a space of a week, really, against Barcelona, Palace and Forest. So I do think there's a chance he gets rotated, but I just think it's easier for Pep to say that he gets benched than it is to actually bench him, because you've just got to remember how good this kid is. He's still only 22 or 23, and he's got a long way to improve, and that's a scary thing to say when you know just how good he is. So he's one of the best strikers in the world right now, and he could be one of the best of the best. So he's just playing in a team that's going to create so many chances for him, and he's playing at home, and he hauled last week. I just think he's too good to not have. As good as Harry Kane is right now, I think, you know, ultimately there's more chance, in my opinion, that Erling Haaland is explosive. When it comes to it, Harry Kane is good, but he might tick along with 1 goal a week kind of thing. Whereas Haaland, I could see getting a brace or a hat-trick on any given game week. So it's a very tough one, but there's no point, you know, flip-flapping between the 2 premiums. I think Haaland and Kane are both good options in their own right. But Erling Haaland just brought the vibes this season after his transfer from Borussia Dortmund. And yes, you look at it and think, is he going to be sharing the goals with Man City? But they are creating the most chances, so Haaland will get his chance. So then I've got Gabrielle Jesus. He's going to be my vice-captain this week. I thought about Haaland, but for me, I think the vice-captaincy looks better on Jesus. As good as a Fulham fixture it is, I think there's more chance of Salah ripping riot against Bournemouth. Fulham defensively haven't been brilliant, but I can still see a return here for Jesus. As good as Fulham are, they are going to probably concede. So you'd expect it to be Gabriel. And he's just been brilliant to start the season. So look at that ownership. 82% is a joke. I don't think we'll ever see this ever again, as Martin Tyler once said. But anyway, the point is, this guy just is too much of an essential pick for me. And he's just doing really well at the start of his career. And he's got a good record, actually, against Fulham that he had for Man City. So it makes sense. I'm going to go for it, and I like it a lot. Moving on then to our bench. We're looking at it. It's Danny Ward, of course. We're not going to have him as my starter. That would be a silly thing to do. We learnt from that game week 1. But ultimately, we've had Sanchez all season. And I'm glad I didn't start with the double goalkeeper Leicester defence. Double Leicester goalkeepers, because those people that started with that are in the mud. Honestly, this guy's just not good enough to start most weeks. Leicester defensively are just not good right now. So I'm glad to see him on my bench. And even if I considered somehow of playing him, he's got Chelsea this week, so it makes sense. Nico Williams is first on bench just because of the difficulty of that Tottenham fixture. I think Spurs will struggle in terms of they're not going to be free-flowing. Forest are going to make it difficult, as we saw against West Ham. But I still feel Nottingham Forest will concede and Spurs could get a couple. So ultimately, that's not going to be an easy game for Nico. As good as he is in terms of his attacking threat, I think the lack of chance of a good fixture and a good clean sheet there is just going to put me off playing him this week. Ultimately, though, let's hope I get the Nico and Andreas combo right this week because I got it wrong last week, I'm afraid. But ultimately, we move on. Harrison Reed. I mean, Harrison Reed, for me, looks like a great 4.5 player that you'll never play because he's one of the few 4.5s that plays 90 minutes every week. And yes, he kind of picks up a few yellow cards, but so does every 4.5 midfielder because usually those kind of players are defensive midfielders, so they're going to put in tackles. But it's really not that important. He's doing the job as that bench fodder. And then Archer, who's actually been linked with a move to Watford. Whether it will actually happen, I don't know. But the point is, he's decent. He's decent because he gets sometimes a few minutes, very, very rarely. But, let's see what happens. I'm not going to think too much about it. But yeah, that's my game week team for game week number 4. Just showing it as it looks in the overall view here. That's my selection for game week number 4. Hope you have enjoyed. Smash a like on the video if you want to follow me as well. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And as I see, it's the overall standings for the mini leagues. Just to remind you, ahead of game week 4's kickoff. It's very, very interesting. As I mentioned in a previous story on my Instagram, this is how the leagues will work this season. The prize of the mini league, so currently winning, James, on 214 points, you will currently, as it stands, I know there's only 3 game weeks down, but the prize to win my mini league would be to feature on my YouTube video, my end of season review, and you'll get shout outs as well across all my socials. So that's not a bad prize, really, for a mini league. And then the League Cup, let me tell you about that. That's going to be starting in game week 32. So put it in your calendar, game week 32. Whenever that deadline is, we can actually look for you people, just to help you out. So you can put it straight in your calendar before you forget. So game week 32 is the league of the game week of the Cup. So game week 32 then is Saturday 22nd of April, 1:30. So that is when you will be scheduled to play a fixture against someone in the FPL Yellow Army mini league. Basically, it's a random knockout and it's seeing who gets through each week. So that's how it's going to look. That's how it's going to be. And as it stands, we're going to have promotions and divisions. So League Cup, that's whoever wins that League Cup is going to get promoted to Division 1 for next season. You can see the current Division 1 standings and Division 2 standings on my Twitter, but I do apologise. There was a quite silly technical hitch on the kind of top 9 standings for both divisions. So I've got it on my previous FPL review. Go check that out. You can see it there. But as I say, if you win League Cup, you get to Division 1. If you also finish in the top 2 in Division 2, then you get to Division 1. So the current top 2 are in Division 2, James and Isotar. So they would go to Division 1 as things stand. And then the bottom 3 in Division 1 are currently Adam Clark, FPL Semi-Casual Rupert, and Neil Thompson. You will currently get relegated to Division 2, but that's obviously a long way to go. So thanks for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Let's hope Game Week 4 is much more points for FPL Yellow Armies hanging by a thread.